Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Body Language Show. Give yourselves a big round of applause for being here this morning. You can always tell who the scouts are because they do it this way. That's awesome. We also have many people who are joining us online today. So can you guys just wave at the camera up here because they're all at their houses or their offices or other places watching us, and we're really glad that you are here today as well. So I have a question this morning. How many of you know anything about body language? Little tiny bits. Awesome. How many of you have been to a body language class here before? Okay, one hand. Okay, good to know. Well, welcome. My name is Ann Washburn, and I am checking. Does everybody have one of these? Show me yours, so I see you have one. Excellent, excellent. So on this handout right here, you'll see on the back, this is a little bit about me. See, we match. That's me. In the center here, this is a list of some of the places that we have gone and done trainings. Part of my position in the company is I travel outside the walls here, and I take body language training to companies or groups of people. And so if you have a group of people who need some body language training, you talk to me or to Ammon out at the front desk, and we can get you on my calendar to have me come to your event or your place of work or your group of people, and I'll share things about body language with them. So that's pretty cool that there's all of these different places. But on the inside here, you'll see that there's a separate handout, and they pull apart like this. So you can pull the middle one out, and it says 3 Key Elements University. 3 Key Elements is an education company. In fact, they are an education company who has been awarded many awards in the last few years, some of which are 4 years in a row. We've been on the Inc. 5000 of one of the fastest growing companies in America, and we've been on the Utah 100 fastest growing companies in Utah. We've also been awarded a Utah Genius Award for specialty education. We've received these awards and also been featured in Forbes magazine many times because we care about the students that we teach. So this is a list of many of the classes and audio recordings we have. That's a reference for you. You can put that down so you can look at it later. But the part I want to draw your attention to is this handout right here. And what's this one called? The body language what? Show. So that means we're going to show body language today. It isn't, I'm just going to teach you about it. We're also going to show you body language. Because when it comes to our communication, you'll see right down here at the middle on the bottom, it says the 3 voices of communication. When it comes to communication, there's more than one way that people pick up information from us. And so let me illustrate. May I illustrate? Would that be okay? 2 of you, good. So if I'm up here and I'm saying, so imagine this scenario. You know what? Today's the best day ever. On a scale of 1 to 10, today is just like an 11. I'm having the best day. So what kind of messages did you see or hear there? So my tone was different than what? Than the words. And what else did you notice? The punch, the body language. If I'm having a great day, am I usually like this? Is that usually the body language you'd see? So if you see somebody like this, are they having a bad day? No, but I didn't even say anything. See, there's different messages. There's different ways that our communication comes out, and there's 3 of them on average. And so if I draw those up here as a pie chart, don't worry, I didn't turn it into math class, but if I draw them up here as a pie chart, when it comes to communication, these are the ratios of the communication. And this smallest piece right here is your words. On average, well, let me label all of these for you here. This is the tone, and this is the gestures or your body language. And so on average, if your words and your body language don't match, which one do people put the most, which one do people believe the most? The body language. When I said, oh, I'm having the greatest day ever, did you believe me? But my words told you, I'm having the greatest day ever. You didn't believe my words? Because the body language was different. It didn't match. And so when it comes to communication, on average, your words are only 7% of the communication. The tone is 36% of that communication. We know that because do you get in trouble for your tone of voice or your words more often? The tone of voice. We get in trouble for our tone of voice. Your body language, though, is 57% of that communication. 57%. And so we sometimes get in trouble for our body language. Just like when I was driving here today, there was this car that pulled over into the lane at the same time I did, and so he had body language. Do you know what I'm talking about? So there's some kinds of body language that are better than others. But communication, if they don't match, people are going to pay attention to the body language more than the words. And so the question is, why do we spend years learning how to make our words right, and nobody ever teaches us how to make our body language right? How many classes in body language do you get? Okay, one, because you just got invited to this one, right? So now instead of 0, we're up to 1. But how many classes were you required? That's a word. How many classes have you been required to take on words? Like every year of school, right? I hated it in high school. They're like, here's the classes you can choose from, but you have to take these. And one of them was always English. And I'm like, I like math better. Can I take that? Oh, you only have to have 2 years of that. But you have to have 4 years of English. So we get 4 years of English, but in that English, they don't teach us about our body language. They don't even teach us about the tone of our voice as we speak. And so when your words and your body language don't match, what it causes is miscommunication. And where in our world does miscommunication cost us? Everywhere. So give me some examples. Marriages. I like this. She's like, him and me. So marriages. Where else? At work. With the kids, for sure. Anywhere else?
In the car.
In the car. Yes. Do you think there's driving body language? For sure. Okay. Anywhere else? Business partners. How about if you're at a restaurant and you have an allergy and you miscommunicate to the waiter or waitress? Could this be a miscommunication problem?
Yeah.
For sure. It's costly. Miscommunication is costly. And so the way I like to look at things is if I see one thing, I want to look at the opposite so I can learn more about it. So if I know miscommunication is costly, then I want to know what causes positive communication. I want to know both so that I can choose between them. In order to have a choice, we have to see that there are differences. So we see that body language sends a message. Today, I want to teach you some of those messages that you're sending. I want to teach you some of the messages so that you can align them with the words you're speaking so you can increase your communication and decrease your miscommunication. And today, our focus, so every month I do one of these classes, and every month I have a different focus that I focus on. So this month, if you read the email, and some of you may have gotten here because people sent you here or you just heard about it, but some of you got an email that said what we would talk about. And if you read that email, it said that today's focus was what? Eyes. So today we're going to focus on eyes because eyes are part of that communication. And it's really fun, you guys, because our facial expressions are one of the hardest things for us to manage. And we don't think about it because we can't see our own face. And so since we can't see it, it's often forgotten when we're talking to other people. We think we're managing this, but often we aren't. And so I want to open your eyes today to some body language when it comes to what's going on here that you can't see unless you carry a mirror or a selfie stick around with you. If you carry those around, then you can see yourself more. But it would be kind of hard to walk like this. Oh, I get to look at me. Here, everybody, look at me. Wouldn't that be fun? We have whole groups of people now that are all like, we are selfie people, or I have the most selfies ever, or we hate people who take selfies. It was even on the radio yesterday. Did you guys notice that? They're all upset because people are taking selfies by I can't think of what it's called, the terrorist attack in England. There's a group of people that's up in arms because people are taking selfies there. And so selfies are controversial. So, okay, you don't have to use a selfie. I'll just teach you about you, and then you can take this and use it as you want. But I prefer that you use it for good. Who are the evil people? Okay, excellent. Phew. Just checking, because I prefer, when I teach you these things, that you're going to use it for the light side of the force. Because there's always another side. There's always another way. Trust me, I know, because I have a 14-year-old. And you'll hear some stories about him today, because it's powerful to understand the messages that we're sending. So would you like to learn some of this today? Yes. Okay. And so as I'm teaching you this, I also have to teach you, every class I will teach you some of the basics of body language as well. And it's always good, even if you've been here before, to hear a refresher on the foundation of it. So if I could open my handout here. On the inside here, you can even fold this backwards like this, down the spine. And on the inside here, I have some very powerful information to share with you. On this part 1 right here, so this is the advantage of coming live, is you get one of these. Oh, here, make that sound for me. Oh, you guys are fun. Okay, this will be a good class. So part 1 here has a list of many of the messages that are sent with different parts of the body. Because feet send different messages than the neck does. The eyes send different messages than the hands do. And so I will cover some of these basic parts here, but I've written them out so that you don't have to scribble notes. They're just right here ready for you. You're welcome. So then parts number 2 and 3 here, these are fill in the blank. And I am a really nice teacher. I will give you all the answers. And if you miss one of them, I encourage you to cheat off your neighbor. Good? Okay. You don't get that offer at school very often. So this is a much funner class, if you can't tell. And then right here where this stick figure is, this is one of my favorite parts. Because here I get to explain to you where in your subconscious your body language is coming from. I love to study the brain and figure out what's going on there. But if I get all sciencey, then our brain goes, ah! So I like to explain it in layman terms that are really easy to understand. Because once we have an understanding, now we have the ability to use it for our increased communication. So I'm going to explain to you why it's possible for you to be sending a different message with your body language than your words, and why body language is a super shortcut to improving your results. How many of you have watched my TED Talk on body language? The front row, fascinating. So it's just 15 minutes long. If you go out on YouTube and type in Ann Washburn, you can watch that. You can watch that TED Talk. In there, I tell a couple of stories of things that I used and that I taught my children to use in body language. And I won't be sharing those here in class today. And so that's an added resource for you if you want to get some bonus material. Cool? Cool. All right. So those things I will cover, and then here in the margins and wherever you can, I'm going to teach you the bonus material today about eyes. Because I want you to understand some of the things that happen with eyes in our world. Because nowadays, when you walk down the street, very often in the old days, when I was a kid, in the old days, you would walk down the street and you couldn't pretend to be doing something else as easy. So when you passed somebody else on the street, you had to make eye contact. But now when you walk down the street, it's like, oh, there's a human. I'm going to pretend like I'm texting somebody. Because then I don't have to see them. I don't have to make eye contact with them. It was fascinating to me because recently, my 14-year-old, who he can't ever watch this recording because I'm going to tell lots of stories about him today. But he just last weekend was in the hospital because he was bit by a rattlesnake. And that was a fun new experience that I've never had before and really don't want again. But as he was in the hospital Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And while he was in the hospital, I found this really interesting. In each room, there's a computer. That wasn't the interesting part, okay? And in the hall outside each door, there was another computer. So there was these computers everywhere. And they had big screens on them. But the thing is when nobody was using them, they had a series of pictures that they would cycle through. And so I figured they seemed kind of hospital-ish, but I figured if they were on every monitor, I had the right to watch one of them because it was kind of hard to miss them. And so I was watching, I was walking past one morning, and I didn't get to sleep Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, or Monday night. So I hadn't had a lot of sleep, but I still was interested in this screen that I walked past. And I only saw it out of the corner of my eye. So then I had to go back and I had to watch through the whole cycle of pictures until this one came back up. Because I was like, I got to see what this was. And it was interesting because what it said on it was, it was trying to teach the employees how to have better communication. And what it said was, it was giving directions on how to greet somebody in the hall when you're not pretending to be on your cell phone. And I was like, are you serious? We have to teach people this nowadays. But it's true, because we're so focused on our cell phones and staying in this world instead of this world, we don't know how to make eye contact. We don't know how to do it. And so what it said was this. It said, at 10 feet, smile and say, and make eye contact. Say eye contact. You too can be a trainer. This is about body language, not words, people. So it was saying that when you are starting to approach somebody, when they are 10 feet away from you, smile and make eye contact. And then when they are 5 feet away from you, say hello. Does that seem pretty basic, you guys? Really basic. But yet we have to teach people that nowadays. We have to teach them. And so I watched this every time I saw that picture. I smiled at it. And I hope I took a picture of it. If not, I'm going to have to go back to the hospital. Because I took a picture of the next slide because it was this cat laying on its back going, ah, and it was so cute. So I took a picture of the cat. Hopefully I took a picture of the other one. But that's what it said, is at 10 feet, smile and make eye contact. At 5 feet, say hello. Not, because this is how most of us do it, at 10 feet, pretend like your phone just beeped. At 5 feet, pretend like you're talking on it. And then go past them, and 2 feet later go, phew, I didn't have to interact. That's what we do mostly. But nowadays, we are going to have to learn to interact with humans face to face. Because if we have a business goal, if we have a personal goal, if we have a relationship goal, if we have a money goal, it requires other people to help achieve that goal. And since goals require other people, it's important that we learn how to interact with other people. So one thing I know about you guys is you're really smart. You're really smart people. Because we had a whole bunch of people register to be here this morning, and some of them chickened out and are watching online instead. Now, I'm still glad that they're online, But the thing is I know you guys coming here in person, you are going to get an added level because of the interaction you will have. In our world, let's face it, we use electronics as a chicken exit. Electronics are many things, and many of them are good, and some of them are awful. But one of them that we may not recognize is that we use electronics as a chicken exit. We use it to avoid our next level of interaction. We use them to avoid getting to our goals. We use them to avoid making better relationships or connections. We have excuses, and we think, oh no, look at all the contacts on my phone. Look at all the contacts I have. I have so many here. I have so many. You can open my contact list and pull up a name, and I probably don't know who they are. Is your phone that way? It's like there's so many contacts, you don't even know who the people are that have the phone number in your phone. I found that fascinating the other day. I opened my phone because I was trying to find a contact. And I'm scrolling through, God, I bet 1,000 phone numbers in my phone. And half of them I'm going, who is this person? And yet they're in my phone. So we use this as an excuse. We say, see, I have lots of connections. Okay, I dare you to call one of them and see if they know who you are. But yet in our world, when we make connections, we now have the higher ability to reach our goals. And so today, we are going to relearn some things that we already knew. We're going to relearn them in new ways. We're also going to add to things that we know. And we're also going to leave here with skills that help us interact with people so that we can get to our goals faster. Do any of you have a goal? Okay, wait, raise your hands again. If anybody next to you didn't raise your hand, tell them they can borrow one of your goals, okay? Because you'd be happy to share, right? Okay, so we have goals. Are your goals important to you? Okay, what happens if they don't get accomplished? Will that be sad? Will that matter? Okay, then we've got to have skills to accomplish our goals. One of the things that I love being a body language expert is I can quickly see what's between somebody and the goals they're trying to accomplish. Because your body language, when I ask you a question, I watch your answer more than I listen to it. I watch your answers. I'm watching all of you this morning. I'm watching all of you. I'm even watching you guys that are watching online. Yep, that's you. Yep, and you. I'm watching you. Because I love humans. And it has not always been the case for me. 7 years ago, I hated humans. Anybody ever felt it? You don't have to raise your hand on that one. I did not like people because to me, it was really hard to communicate with them. In fact, once I went to this place called high school. Have any of you done that? Oh my gosh. And at high school, that was a crazy thing. I tried to interact with the other students or the teachers, and I felt like no matter how hard I tried to be nice or tried to interact with them, my results were lower than the effort I was putting out. It was very frustrating, and it was frustrating. Why don't we have an angrying word? It's frustrating and angrying. Okay, I made up another word. See, words are only 7% of communication, so we can make them up if we want to. So it was angrying and frustrating to me. So when I was 16, I came up with a plan. And the plan was go to the nearest college and see if they would take me instead. Good plan, right? Well, it worked. I went in and they said, sure, you can come to college. I was like, yes. And then they said, what are you going to major in? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know you were going to let me come to college. I just don't want to be with the high school kids. And they're like, well, you need to pick a major. And I was like, okay, why am I coming to college? To date the boys. What majors do you have with no girls in them? And the guy's like, what? I'm like, I don't need the competition. So he goes, all right. He opens his book and he says, well, in that case, how about you be an engineer? And I said, no, thank you. I do not want to drive trains. And he goes, and in our program, there are no trains and there are very few girls. And I said, sweet, sign me up. So I signed up for mechanical engineering. I went through school in mechanical engineering. It's true, there aren't very many girls. I know, because one day they called me into the dean's office and they sat me down, and I remember the dean and the assistant dean were sitting there, and they said, guess what? We have elected you Woman of the Year for the department. And I was like, I'm not sure whether to be flattered or insulted by this. Because I don't think there was much other competition for the job. But it's cool because I can open my yearbook and say, look, kids, in college, I was Woman of the Year for engineering department, but don't look at that part. But it was cool. Engineers don't talk a lot. And so it was really easy to get through college because I didn't have to communicate with people so much. Then I graduated and I went to work in explosives and then flight simulation. Is that fun? Yeah. So explosives, flight simulation, body language expert, career path. You'd think that they could give you that career path right out of high school, right? But I had to invent it first. And so here I am working in flight simulation, and I can hide in my little cubicle and I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't have to make eye contact. Believe me, that's easy with engineers. We don't make a lot of eye contact. In fact, some of you may have been raised by humans. And I noticed that the humans that raised me, they had never learned to make eye contact. And so at my house, nobody made eye contact. And so growing up, I just didn't do that. You would look anywhere but at somebody's face. You didn't look at their eyes. We didn't do that kind of thing. My parents are both youngest children, and my dad grew up in foster care, and my mom grew up in an abusive household, and no eye contact was made. So my parents are my hero because they chose to raise their children differently than they were raised. But nobody gave them a book that said you should make eye contact with these children. So we just didn't. And so to me, I was very comfortable as an engineer, and I could walk down the hall, and nobody ever gave me the slide that says at 10 feet, smile and make eye contact, and at 5 feet, say hello. So mostly as engineers, we would carry around big stacks of papers, and if somebody started to say hi to us, we would quickly drop them so that we would have something else to do, then have to say hello. You guys don't do that kind of thing? You're going to know too much about me before the end of this morning. And this is how I lived my life. So when I graduated, I married an engineer. Didn't have to make eye contact because he was an engineer too. And now we have 4 boys and 1 girl. But I still couldn't communicate with people. I still couldn't. But then a bad thing happened. My kids got old enough to go to school. Dang it, and now I had to go to their school and interact with the other parents and interact with the teachers. Anybody else dread that or just me? Okay, there's a couple of us. Okay, we're a group now, okay? It's like scary. It was awful. I would go to the school and I would get in arguments with people. I would get in fights with teachers and other parents because I'm just so mean. No, I was trying to be nice. And I came home one day and I asked my husband, I said, how come everybody on this planet's so mean? And he goes, Ann, I don't think you want the answer to that question. I was like, fine, you're mean too. But it was so frustrating because I tried so hard, but my results were so low. And I was not liking this. And I thought, you know what? I went to college. I know stuff. I should be able to figure this out. But I wasn't. In fact, I got to the point that I would just send my kids to school in the morning and I would hide in the house, usually on the couch under a blanket. And I wouldn't answer the door and I wouldn't answer the phone. Because no matter how hard I tried, my results were still here. It didn't seem to matter. I tried to say nice words. I tried to be the peacemaker. I tried to put people before me. I tried all the things that I thought would work. And yet, this is where my results were. It was so bad that my kids would come home from school and they would forget to tell me that there were activities at school afterwards. And they would try to tell Dad and see if Dad would go with them and not Mom, because they didn't want Mom at the school with them. It was a hard place to be. In fact, at that time, the loudest comment in my head was one that said, "Ann, your kids would be better off with any mom than you." And I was believing it. I was believing it because the evidence around me was making me believe it. You guys, when I personally mentor people, like after this class, I will be personally mentoring people. Yesterday, all day long, I was personally mentoring people. One of the appointments I had yesterday, this is exactly what we talked about, is we will take evidence of things happening in our life, and we will believe that something is true because of the evidence, even when it's not. So for me, I was believing because of the evidence that I was broken, that I didn't have value, that my kids would be better off with a different mom than me. I was believing it. Now, I don't usually share that kind of thing at a body language show, but I think you guys need to know that about me. I think you need to know that this is why I began studying body language, because it was not cool to me, because I finally realized I was not the only person who thought this way. I was not the only person who was stuck at my house and was afraid of people and didn't like humans. I was not the only one. So here, play with me for a second. Stomp your foot. Dang it. I was not the only one. Dang it. So now my stubborn stuck in. Is that a word? My stubborn kicked in. Is anybody here stubborn? Good. And all those who wouldn't raise their hand, you are really stubborn. So my stubborn kicked in. I'm like, dang it, I am going to figure this out. So I was, on the couch under a blanket. I stuck my head out and got the remote and turned on the TV, and I had 7 channels to surf through. So I'm surfing through my 7 channels, and one day I come across this, it's some entertainment thing that I didn't really care for those things, but they were doing some kind of interview, and they had a whole line of these celebrities that were standing there. And this line of celebrities were all standing there, and they had taken a picture of them, and they had this picture on the screen. And as I looked at this picture, I was going to surf past it, but I came back, and I was like, wait a second. I would never stand like they're standing. And I remember trying to pose the way they were posing. And I was like, I would never stand like that. And I remember trying it and feeling like, oh, that's so awkward. What if somebody saw me looking like that if I looked confident? Because I was like, their shoulders are up. They have their hands down to their sides. Their chin is up a little bit. I would never do that. I'm like, oh, how awful. That would be awful if somebody saw me like that. Because my tendency was to keep my arms folded, to keep my chin down, avoid eye contact, because people are hurtful. And so to avoid people, I would protect myself. I would protect myself and look down and look away. But as you're going to learn today, the problem is that sends a message to our own brain, and then we feel the way we stand. Did you hear that? We feel the way we stand. So now here I am, stuck in my house, not wanting to leave my house. And so now I need your help. I need you to go, aw, exactly. It was so awful. Thank you for commiserating with me. But now I didn't live there anymore. I don't live there anymore. I mean, I live in that house, but I don't live in that space anymore, because as I noticed this body language, it sparked in me a desire to understand communication better. Because I'm like, if they're sending a different message than I would dare send, I need to understand more of what's going on. And so I told my husband, I said, I'm really interested in body language. And that's about all I told him. That's about all I told him. Because then I told him that, and then I said, I heard that there's a body language class. You should go to it. I wasn't going to go to it. There'd be humans there. Oh my gosh. And I didn't have the option to watch it from home. And so I said, you go to the body language class. And he's like, oh, fine. I'll go to the body language class for me. Because it's kind of like, have you ever done this to your spouse, or your spouse has done this to you? It's like you find out that a friend had a baby, so you tell your husband, oh, when you see them, ask them about the baby. So then when they come home, you're like, okay, I want to know the name, how much it weighed, how long it is, and how many hours of labor, and those kinds of things. And your husband comes home and he goes, yep, they had a baby. But where's the answers to the question? Am I the only one that thinks that way? So that's the way it was with the body language show. I sent my husband to this body language show, and then he was going to come back and answer all my questions, right? No. So in theory, it was awesome. So what happened instead was when he got home from the body language show, he found me on the couch under a blanket, and he lifted up the blanket, and he goes, guess what, Ann? I signed you up for a class. So I closed the blanket, and I said, just answer my questions. And he opened the blanket, and he goes, no, I don't know all the answers. And you are going to go learn about communication and body language. The class was called Master Your Influence. Have any of you heard of it? Have any of you been to it? Oh, same hands. Awesome. Okay, so I now was signed up for Master Your Influence. I did not want to go to Master Your Influence. So when I went to Master Your Influence, here was my body language. Huh, go ahead, try and teach me something. And in my head, the whole time I was sticking my tongue out. Because I knew it wasn't me, it was everybody else on the planet that was mean that needed to change, not me. But as I sat there, one of the most important things that I learned was this concept that when your words and your body language send conflicting messages, people pay attention to the body language more than the words. The body language is a louder piece of communication. And so I was like, yes, I'm going to try it. And so I went home after the first day of class, and I adjusted my body language. And dang it, here, do this with me again. Dang it, immediately I got different results. How fast? Immediately. So then I got mad. That was angrying. And my stubborn kicked in, because I'm like, shoot, if body language matters this much, how come nobody taught me about it? How come they didn't make me take that class in high school instead of this stupid? How many of you have used in your life the ability to dissect the sentences into those tree things? Wouldn't you have rather spent the time learning body language? Yes. I would have. But instead, no, I know that when you have I don't even know the words anymore. When you have wait, what's the word? I have to think back to Sesame Street. When you have a conjunction, it goes on the little squirrely line at the bottom of the other line. Now I know that, but I don't know body language. And so I'm like, really? This is frustrating. And so I decided in that moment, I was going to learn about body language, but not just learn about it. I'm going to change my career and start teaching people about it. Because I want people to have the same shortcuts that I've had that take me from where I was 7 years ago to where I am today. Because 7 years ago, did not like humans. Now, I think humans are the coolest thing on the planet. 7 years ago, my kids didn't want me to know about activities at school. Now, my kids are like, Mom, can you come again, please? My results are very different. 7 years ago, my husband and I struggled in our marriage. It was really hard. Now, I've been married 25 years, and we're the happiest we've ever been. Yeah, because I learned about me. I learned about my communication. I learned about body language. I learned about eye contact. So all these things that I've been teaching you this morning, They all are shortcuts. They all are. And so I want you to have these pieces in your life. Are you good? Are you willing to play? Yes. Because what if I ask you to do something out of your comfort zone?
Do it. I want to do it.
What if I ask you to get uncomfortable? Okay, no, did you hear that? Everybody went, okay? It's because I'm paying attention to everybody's body language. So here, yeah, you've been to that, and I'm still scary. I know. So here's the thing. You have a comfort zone. This right here is a space that we like to stay because it feels comfortable. The problem is you also have another zone out here. And this zone is called your growth zone. Growth. This is where better things are. This is where your goals are. This is where better relationships are. This is where better relationships with your spouse or your kids or your boss. This is where that is. Right here in your comfort zone, your comfy zone. So we have a comfy zone and a growth zone today. In your comfy zone, this is where you have your current results. In order to have a new result, you have to step into the growth zone. And sometimes you might notice that the comfy zone and the growth zone are not in the same place. So usually we don't feel comfortable in the growth zone. And so then we try to shrink back. Okay, so play with me for a minute. Everybody raise your hand as high as you can raise it. You got it? Raise it as high as you can raise it. Got it? Got it? Okay, now raise it just a little bit higher. I told you to raise it as high as you could the first time. Your brain is ripping you off. Your brain wants you to believe that this is all that you can do. It's a lie. It's a lie. Because your subconscious has a program in it that says, I have to keep you alive. And to me, that means comfortable. Because the least amount of energy that I expend, the longer I can stay alive. But staying alive is not the same thing as living. They're not the same. And so we have to very gently teach our subconscious new tricks. Just like you raised your hand and I said as high as you can. I gave you a whole bunch of chances. And then I said a little bit higher and all of you together did this. I was like, really? Our brains rip us off. And so I need you to understand pieces about your brain today so that you can see where you are being ripped off. All of you guys at home, same thing. You are being ripped off. Your brain wants you to believe that you need to stay small, that you need to play small. And it is not true. There is plenty of room on this planet for everybody to grow bigger than they are. And I don't mean put more weight on, okay? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about get out of that comfy zone into that growth zone. And so today, I might ask for volunteers. And if you don't volunteer, then I ask for choose-a-tears, and I bring you up anyways. But your subconscious will try to hold you back. Or I'll get to a place where I ask for questions. And then your brain will say, don't ask that question. Somebody will think it's a dumb question. Because some of you have been to second grade. And so you've seen that kid that raised their hand and got laughed at because they asked a question. Well, that becomes a piece that limits you. Our comfort zone limits us. And so today, we're going to play outside that comfort zone. Because one of the things about humans that I know is that you're cooler than you recognize. And so I choose to use body language to help people see their amazingness. Because I'm not cool with people staying trapped inside of their own comfort zone. Because comfort zones are self-imposed. They're self-imposed prisons that keep us from growing. So today, we're going to, anybody watched my Facebook Live that I did last night? So if you haven't liked my page, if you go out and like my page, then you'll get my Facebook Lives that I do once a week. And the one I did last night was about how we butt heads with our own brain and how to get past that so that we quit sabotaging our own success. Because we do. We sabotage our own success way more than anybody else sabotages it. And so we got to understand how to quit butting our heads with our own brain and move to our own success. Okay, are you learning something already this morning?
Yes.
Okay, 6 of you. Good to know. And the rest of you, are you learning something this morning?
Yes.
Hey, so we love our brains. Do you love your brain? You should definitely love your brain. However, sometimes it's holding us back, and we have to coax it out. Just like yesterday, 14-year-old story alert, okay? So we are at baseball with my 14-year-old, and he's on this baseball team, and he's pretty good. But his favorite place to play, his comfort zone, is third base. And so yesterday, the coach came over to him and goes, "Jake, I need you to warm up and pitch." And my son's like, he's got an amazing arm, but he's scared to pitch. And so the coach is like, "Okay, it's all right. I'm not going to make you do something you don't want to do." And so then when it came time to change innings, and he's telling the kids where to go play, he goes, "Jake, cover first." And my son gets up, throws his hat down, takes off his jersey, and leaves the field. And the umpire's like, "Do you want somebody on first?" Because have you ever played baseball with nobody on first? It's not the base you don't want to cover, okay? But he was up against his own brain. His own brain was holding him back because he was afraid he would mess up. He was afraid that he would drop the ball. He was afraid that he wasn't prepared enough. And so here was this opportunity, and he sabotaged his own result because of the fear that he associated with his growth zone. The fear. He didn't return the whole rest of the game, you guys. And the coach is like, "Where's Jake? I need Jake." What happened? And both his dad and I are going, "Growth zone." We're like, "We'll find him. We'll talk to him. We'll figure it out." But I don't like to watch people sabotage their own results. Not when it's not necessary. And it's never necessary to sabotage your own results. I am totally fine with people making choices. I am totally fine with them being aware of what the choice is and then making a choice. But I am so not cool with sabotage that we don't even know is happening. I'm not cool with that. So is this okay that I'm sharing stories with you guys today? Because I feel like this is just a big group mentoring. I teach a group mentoring class in this room also, and today I kind of like to add some mentoring. Mentoring is bonus material that is off the charts awesome. Are you guys okay with that? Okay, front 2 rows. Good to know. Okay, so we'll put our brain over here because our brain is what we're talking about today. So I want you to feel what it feels like to be in your growth zone. So everybody fold your arms for me. Got it? Okay, you guys at home, everybody fold your arms. Got it? Yes, you fold your arms too. Okay, good. Now, unfold your arms and fold them back with the other arm on top. Some of you are like, arms don't do that. Okay, got it? How does it feel? Weird, different, awkward. What else? uncomfortable. Okay, hold it. I want you to feel it. Some of you are like, I got to undo it. No, hold the uncomfortable. Come on, stay in your growth zone for a minute. Now, is it illegal? No. Is it immoral? No. Is it unethical? No. Oh, hold, stay. But your brain wants you to believe that you need to change it as quickly as possible. What you are feeling right here is called, in science, cognitive dissonance. Because cognitive dissonance states that your brain cannot hold on to two conflicting ideas at the same time without discomfort. I know you're like, take notes, let me unfold my arms. Okay, do you feel that feeling? That is the simple thing we're up against. To get into your growth zone is as simple as getting into uncomfortable. We label it all these negative things. Why not, instead of labeling it uncomfortable, we're now going to label it growth. So this feeling, what's it called? Growth. What's it called? Growth. Okay, twice as loud. What's it called? Growth. Okay, now you may unfold your arms, because I don't want you to fold your arms the whole time. That would be not good. Okay, but that's what we got to do. We got to be willing to get into our growth zone so that we can have a different result. Because I asked you how many of you have a goal. Raise your hand again if you have a goal. Okay, now let me ask you a question about your goal. Is it something that you've always done, or is it something new that you want to accomplish? New. So guess where new is? In the growth zone. New is out here. This is where new is. But we don't end up at new because we're so afraid of uncomfortable. It's no longer called uncomfortable. It's called growth. It's called, yes, or new. It's called growth. New is still one of those words that our brain can get triggered by. But growth is something we believe in. Most of us are willing to be in growth, but we get scared of being in new. We get scared of uncomfortable. We apply the words like fear or bad or scary, but it doesn't have to be true. So our new word is growth. Our new word is growth. Because the fact of the matter is, when you change your body language, you change your results. Because changing your body language puts you into the growth zone. Because here's what's going on. Your body language sends messages out to people. And those messages teach people how to treat you. Because people pick up on body language. When I stood up here, I asked you, how many of you been to body language classes? And you're like, nobody. And so then I say, oh, I'm having the best day ever. And you're like, I don't believe you. Because you picked up on my body language. Everybody picks up on body language. The problem is we don't know what messages we're sending. And so when we don't know those messages, that's what keeps us in what we think is the safety zone. We pretend that this comfort zone is a safety zone. That is not true. That's not true. This growth zone is also safe. The unsafe zone is somewhere else. It's not even right here. But yet we pretend that the comfort zone is the safety zone. It is just as safe. I asked you to fold your arms differently. Was that safe? Yeah. Absolutely. It's still safe. I am not asking you to get out here out of your safety zone, only out into your growth zone. So what's your burning question right here?
I was actually thinking that our comfort zone is not our safety zone because it's not getting us the results we want. So it's actually not a safety zone.
There you go. So her point was, when you have a comment, if you'd be willing to take the microphone, then everybody online can hear you. Because no matter how loud your voice is, they can't hear you in Georgia. Okay? So we'll use the microphone for those comments. Cool? I'll repeat hers. So what she said was, actually, this comfort zone isn't really a safety zone because it keeps us from what we want. It keeps us from our goals. But we have to be conscious of that to be able to recognize that. So good job. That was awesome. And what's your name?
Rebecca.
Give Rebecca a round of applause for that comment. So today I'm going to ask you to play in the growth zone. When I ask you, and one of the easiest places is this, is when I say it, is there any questions? You do this body language. You go, me, pick me. And then you think of a question. Because that is an example of pushing out of your comfort zone. Because it's like, oh, I got to think of the perfect question and how to word it before I can raise my hand. But raising your hand, remember, is different body language. So practice with me for a second. Just play. I won't even call on any of you. We'll just pretend. Because pretending is trying on new body language. So pretending is growth. Okay? So I'm going to ask if there's any questions, and then you guys are going to respond with the appropriate body language. You guys at home, too. It'll be awesome. Ready? Are there any questions? Yes. Okay. Do you notice all the giggling? I call that growth giggles. And we want to be in the growth zone. Yet we think that growth will hurt. But notice you all giggled. It was giggly. So let's try it one more time. I'm going to say, are there any volunteers? And then you use that body language. Okay, ready? Are there any volunteers? Okay, not near as many people said, me, pick me. Remember, it's body language and tone and words. Okay? So good job, you used the body language. Now let's add the tone and the words, the excitement. Because growth can be exciting too. Okay, are you ready? Are there any volunteers? Okay, that was better. Almost half of you made some sound. The other half of you were raising your hand while holding your breath. Okay, so notice I love it when there's giggling because that's how it really feels. Because when you achieve your goals, remember, your goal is in your growth zone. So when you accomplish your goal, are you going to go, oh, that was awful and painful? Ah! Or are you going to go, yes? So 14-year-old story again. My 14-year-old, at the beginning of the year, he said to me, he goes, Mom, I want to get a trifecta this year. Does anybody know what a trifecta is? None of you? Okay. So a trifecta, do you know what a Spartan race is? Yeah. So a trifecta is getting all 3 kinds of Spartan races in one calendar year. So you do a sprint, a super, and a beast all in one calendar year. Then you get your trifecta. And so that's what a trifecta is. And so you have to be 14 to run a Spartan race, and he's 14. And so it's like, oh, but then you also have to have a parent with you. That would be me. Dang. And I'm like, so it took me like 4 months to purchase the trifecta pass because I was like, are you sure? He goes, yes, Mom. I'm like, are you really sure? Yes, Mom. And I'm like, but are you really, really sure? Because I want to stay in my comfort zone and not have to go run the races. Because if you just could mail it to me in the mail, that'd be great. But if I actually have to go run the races, that's a different story. And now why am I even telling you this story? Okay, let me think. What are we talking about? Oh, the growth zone. And so the reason he wants to do the trifecta is because last year when he had just turned 14, we went and ran the Utah Super Spartan race. Have any of you guys done that? You should all come with me. It's on August 5th, and it's up in Nordic Valley. And it's only 9 miles long, and there's 32 obstacles. And I think it took us 4.5 hours last year to do it. Notice all the giggling. This is awesome. So anyway, the thing is we went to run the Spartan race. Well, he'd never run a Spartan race before. And about halfway through, he's like, I'm done. Remember, he threw his hat down in his jersey. He likes to rage quit. He's not here and he's not watching. Okay. So halfway through the Spartan race last year, he wanted to do his default rage quit so he could stay in his comfort zone. Well, luckily, at the Spartan race, halfway through, it's just as far to walk out as it is to finish the race. And so he's like, oh, fine. And so we finish the race, and when we get to the end, he's like, Mom, look over there. And then he takes off so that he can beat me across the finish line. And so he gets across the finish line, and he turns around. He's like, yeah, woo! And I'm like, what happened to 2 hours ago when you were like, I'm quitting, this is awful, I hate it? Because you get covered with mud, and you have to do all these crazy obstacles. And that isn't what he remembered when he achieved the goal. When we achieve our goal, we don't get mad that we achieved it. We don't hate it. We're excited. Even if it was hard to get there, even if it was hard. And I would even say it's not even if it was hard, it's because it was hard that we're excited to accomplish the goal. It's because, not in spite of, it's because of. And so we're going to be in Boise running the sprint this weekend, and then in August we'll do the super here. But I know that that's what it'll be like. When we cross the finish line, no matter the struggle to get there, we're excited. And so that's why I know that it's pretend when we think that the comfort zone is the safety zone. It's pretend. Okay, so I just need to know, do I have your commitment that you will play the rest of this morning? Yes? Okay, that sounded like a 50% commitment. Can I have your 100% commitment?
Yes.
That sounded like 72. Now, let me clarify. Is your 100% going to be the same as his 100%? No, it's your 100%. So I just want your 100%. Your 100%, just so you know, is in your growth zone. It is never 100% in your comfort zone. Does that make sense? So when you play at 100%, it's okay if your 100% is right here. That is totally fine because it's still in the growth zone. So will you play at 100% today?
Yes.
Awesome. So did you have just a little bit more in you?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay, I'll give you one last chance. One last chance. Because I gauge what level I teach you at by the participation that I get. So, who will play at 100%?
Yes.
Much better. I like it. I even heard a few of you online. That was good. Okay, so pull out your paper and turn to part number 2 in your handout. Does anybody need a pen to write with? Anybody need a pen? Good? Thank you. So they're grabbing some pens for us. So as they're grabbing the pens, let me explain this part to you. I am going to tell you 2 of the answers and then give you a second to write them down. Once you have them written down, say, got it, and I'll know it's time to go on. Got it?
Got it.
All right, awesome. Okay, who needs a pen? Raise your hand. They brought some for us. Okay, right up here. Need some pens. Thank you. Excellent. Good? And everybody has a handout, yes? Yes. Okay. Reading body language is a skill to find answers and solutions. Now I find out who those stubborn people are that are not, I'm not going to say got it. I am going to stay in my comfort zone. Thank you very much. Anybody else want to say got it? Okay, awesome. To begin reading body language, I must remove judgment and see movements as indicators.
Got it. Now it's a race. Got it.
When I see movement, the next step is to ask good questions.
Got it.
Good job. Remember, you can cheat off your neighbor if you miss one. The next step is to ask good questions. So if you see somebody standing like this, what does it mean? Closed off, protected. What was yours? Same thing. Cold. It's 100 degrees today. It's not cold today. Comfort zone. Garden. Excellent. All possible, plausible answers. How are you going to know which one it is? Ask what kind? Good questions. Is this a good question? Why are you so guarded? That would be an ungood question. Another good word to make it. Ungood questions push people away and break rapport. Good questions build rapport and keep connection. So if I see somebody standing like this and I say, is it cold in here to you? Would that be a good question? Yeah, because then if they say yes, you're like, oh, now I see why they're folding their arms. But if I say, why are you so guarded? Now they become defensive as well. And so it increases their guardedness. So the reason I bring this up right now is because if we use body language to judge people, judging people actually keeps us in our comfort zone. When we judge or blame or make an excuse, we stay in our comfort zone. Judge or blame or make an excuse. Those are things that keep us in our comfort zone. So last night, after my son's baseball game, guess where he went mentally? To judging and blaming and making excuses. Dad, you were making so much noise. You shouldn't have been doing that. And then I could have gone and played first base. I just wasn't ready, and the coach shouldn't have asked that. He started making excuses and pointing blame so that he could stay in his comfort zone. So when I'm mentoring people, I listen for those kinds of words because mentally I know that they're shrinking down when they are using those to try to stay in their comfort zone. So you guys that are in my group mentoring, I know that when you come on Monday now, you're like, okay, Anne's looking at me like that. I had no idea. I know, it's all good because I choose to use it for the light side of the force, okay? And so I'm helping people access amazingness. So let me show you what's going on inside of your brain. Because inside your brain, you have a conscious and a subconscious mind. Is that true? Yes. Did you bring both of them with you? Yes. Oh, you are so smart. Tell the person next to you, you're really smart. So inside our head, we have a conscious and a subconscious. Studies show that our conscious mind actually processes up to 40 pieces of information every single second. And that's your conscious mind. 40 pieces of information. In that same amount of time, how many do you think the subconscious processes? Good job. Okay, so let me step out of character here for a second and just tell you guys what I'm watching. Because every time I ask you a question, I'm watching your responses. And I had several people who were willing to guess an answer. And what that tells me is that you guys are open to new information. Because if we're not willing to guess an answer, then we're so afraid of judgment that we stay in our comfort zone. We stay down there. Because remember, what kinds of things did I say keep us here? Blame, excuses, and judgment. And so if I am afraid of judgment, I am staying in my comfort zone. I'm staying there. Okay, so now back into class. But that's just a compliment for you guys. I'm impressed that there's so many people that are willing to guess. So give somebody next to you a high five and say, yep, we are awesome. Give the one on the other side too. Everybody gets a high five. Okay, good job. You're awesome. So now, your subconscious, it has to handle so many things. It's estimated that we actually have trillions of cells in our body. And we have miles of nerve endings. Not endings, nerves. I can't think of what the word is. Wires? Nerve wires. We have miles of nerve wires. We have miles of veins. We have all of this that has to be taken care of. And our subconscious has a lot to do. And so it's estimated that our subconscious processes upwards of 40 million pieces of information every single second. 40 million. So in order to process a huge amount of information, your subconscious needs programs. Much like since we're talking electronics, should have brought mine up here. Since, Cameron, is my phone right back there? Could you bring it to me really quick? Thank you. There, I will have another prop. Thank you. So our phone, have you ever had a message that came up on your phone in the morning that says, there's a software update available. Would you like to install it now? You ever had that? And you're like, no, let me read my text first. And it's like, or you get it up on your computer. This happened, I was holding a mentoring appointment with somebody who lives out of state. And when they live out of state, we hold our mentoring appointments over Zoom. And I had called her, she called me on the phone because she said as soon as she brought up her computer, it said, I'm going to update your software. And it didn't give her a choice, it just went into update mode. And she's like, what do I do? And I said, it's okay, we can talk on the phone for a little bit while it updates. But why do computers and phones get updates? Because why? They work better. The programs on the phone are what give us the results. Like I have apps on my phone, just a couple of pages. Okay, so I've got some apps. Oh, and cool pictures of my missionary. But we have apps, and those apps also get updates. The phone gets updates, the apps get updates, because programmers know if you're running a faulty program, you get a faulty result. And so we get security updates, we get software updates, but our brain has to also work on programs. Those programs come from the time we're born. So recently I was speaking at an event where I was the closing keynote speaker and the opening keynote speaker was Richard Paul Evans. Do you guys know who that is? So he and I were speaking together. And he had a different way of explaining the same kind of thing that I'm talking about. He said from the time you're born, your brain is mapping its world. Because as soon as a baby is born, it doesn't know what Australia's like. It doesn't know what Aruba is like. It's never been to Hawaii unless it's born there. It doesn't know its world yet. So it's mapping its world. So a baby, by the time it's 2, has some map. It has some map around its world. By the time it's 4, it has a bigger map. By the time we're 8, we have a bigger map. Does that make sense? And so that's the map is what I'm talking about by programs. In other words, this is how I think my world works. And based on my world, this is how I respond to my world. And so we have programs. So when I'm born, I don't have a ton of programs. I have one that says cry and another one that says poop. And that's pretty much what I can do as a baby. Oh yeah, but that's what the crying's for, right? It starts it, and then they plug something in. It's like, oh, I like this. So then I add that program. When I cry, I get to eat. Do you see how that's an added program? We only come with cry. And then it's like, oh, eat. Oh, that's true. We should, no, never mind. Okay. Too much information. So then I keep gathering more programs. So then I get a little older, and I go to touch a hot stove, and Mom slaps my hand. And it's like, wow, what was that? I'd better add a program. And now it's like, well, is the program Mom doesn't like me, or is the program that I shouldn't touch the hot stove? So then I try it again, and then I figure out hot stove, because Mom didn't catch me in time, and now I burn my finger. Okay? We start building programs. Does that make sense? So then, now I'm maybe 8 years old, and I have a program that comes because I notice that Mom is crying, because she doesn't have enough money to pay all the bills. So now I have a money program. And then I'm a little bit older, and I notice mom and dad having an argument over something. And I'm like, oh, this is how you handle relationships. And then I get a little older, and I'm at school, and this kid gets away with something because they lied about it. And I'm like, well, I would never lie about it. That kid's bad. Or I gather a program that says it's good to lie because then you get out of stuff. Whatever the program is, it's now mine. But now the problem is we gather the majority of our base programs by age 11. So now here I am as an adult. Dun, dun, dun. Ooh, make that sound. That's fun. Dun, dun, dun. Anybody here adults? Dun, dun, dun. Anybody here feel like a kid? Dun, dun, dun. Yep. So here we are, these adults with kids inside of us. And when it comes time to make a decision as an adult, my program kicks in. Dang it. And here's why, dang it. Because how many times do you get up in the morning, you walk in the bathroom, and the flashing light on your forehead says, software update available. Would you like to install it now? Dang it. But I need software updates. That program that I got when I was 8 years old is not making the best decisions in my finances as an adult. That program I got from when I was 11 is not making a good decision in my relationships as an adult. I need an update to my programs. Does this make sense, you guys? So here we have these software problems that are coming up. We need to upgrade our apps. We need to upgrade our programs. But yet, my subconscious is running all of this information every single second. Every single second. Since you've been sitting in this room, you've been having all this information run through your subconscious. And it has filtered what you have heard me say. So even though I'm up here and I'm only one person teaching this class, each of you have gotten a different class out of what I have said. Because you have your own set of programs. So in order to get new results in our growth zone over here, we need to upgrade our subconscious programming. We got to upgrade it so that we can have a different result. Because the beauty of it is your subconscious, because it wants to keep you alive and comfortable, it will defend those programs as if they are truth. As if they are truth. Now notice I didn't say because they are truth. I said as if they are truth. So our subconscious will defend those programs that it's using to run this information. And so remember, I like to look at the opposite, because half of you were like, oh, stupid brain, naughty brain, you're in timeout, brain. But I like to look at the other side and go, wait a second, you're defending programs? If I put a better program in, will you defend that one? And the brain goes, and I'm like, oh, opportunity. What's our new word?
Opportunity.
Opportunity. It's not just, time out. It's, ooh, opportunity. Ooh, do it with the sound effect. Ooh, opportunity. Good brain. So we get to upgrade our programs, and then the subconscious will defend the new program. This is why, for me, 7 years ago, don't like humans, avoid humans. New program, like humans, play well with humans, interact with humans. It's a very cool place to be. And here's how I learned to do it. I realized, now this is going to be the answers to part 3 on your handout. I realized from this, I learned this part at Master Your Influence. And then I made this correlation that I'm going to show you. One of the things that your subconscious does is it prepares the words you're going to speak before you speak them. So on average, your subconscious prepares 650 words every minute for you to speak. Now, those words are based on the programs in your subconscious. Your subconscious wants to send messages out to people that will cause them to treat you according to your programs so that you can build evidence that the program is true. Did you hear all of that? Shall I say it again? Okay, because it's pretty profound. Your subconscious chooses the words for you to speak based on your programming because it wants to send messages out to the people around you to teach them how to treat you according to your programs so that you can build evidence that the program is true. One more time? Okay, so for example, if I'm at school, in elementary school, because some of us were crazy enough to go there before high school, and I have a program that says I'm not as good as the other kids here. And then I send messages out that causes some of the kids at school to be mean to me. That builds evidence, yep, I'm not as good as the other kids. Our subconscious does not decide if a program is good or bad for my results. It doesn't care. Our subconscious just wants to defend the programs that are there. And so it doesn't say, that's a bad program to believe I'm not as good as somebody else. It just says, that's a program. I will defend the program. So let me finish saying it, and then you can ask your question. So let me say it one more time. Our subconscious picks the words, 650 words a minute, based on our programs in our subconscious, so that we will send messages out that teach people how to treat me according to my own programs, so that I will get back evidence to make me believe the program is true. Okay, are we getting it now? Are we getting it? Okay, so did that answer your question, or do you still have one? So tell everybody what your name is. Red microphone. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Shelley.
Hi, Shelley.
Hi. Hey, so what I was wondering is, does our body language work that way as well then? Are we
That's
sitting
the
out
next
the
piece.
messages? Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
See,
awesome.
you're
Thanks.
jumping. That's exactly where we want to go. Because, so let me finish explaining that, and then I'll take some questions. So hold on to your questions for a second. So when we talk, can you talk 650 words a minute? I've tried. On average, when we speak, this gets filtered down to 150 words a minute. On average. Now, sometimes we can speak faster. Like at the beginning of the Spartan race, they get this guy on the loudspeaker that can do fine print speaking. You know what I'm talking about? It's like, and you're like, what did he just say death? What was that? Wait, back up. And then they go, ready, go. And you're like, fine print? Oh, well, okay. That part always cracks me up every time I do a Spartan race. It's like, really? And so even those guys get up to like 300 words a minute. We can't speak 650 words a minute. But 650 words got prepared, only 150 got spoken. How do we choose which ones we speak? Well, often we choose them based on who's around us when we go to speak. Like, is it politically correct to say this? Is it nice to say this? Are there kids in the back seat when I get cut off on the freeway? You know, do you wish some people had a better filter? That would be nice. But we filter the words based on our programs, based on the people around us. But how many words got held back? Almost. 500. I know, it's not math class, don't worry. 500 words got held back. What happens to those words? These hidden words show up in body language because your subconscious says, I need all of this message to go out in order to defend the programs in the subconscious. So since you couldn't speak all of them, I will send the rest of the message out in your body language. So when I learned this, my response was, No! There's a reason I don't say the words in my head. Is there a reason you don't say the words in your head sometimes? Because I was trying to be nice. And you're telling me that I'm still sending out messages in my body language? Oh, that was not good news to me. I was like, no. Can I please go take back all of my body language? Because your subconscious is sending messages out in your body language. Here go the messages out to the world. What was your name again? Shelley. Just like Shelley brought up, here go the messages out to the world. I can stand up here, not even open my mouth and send messages. Because have you ever seen somebody, you've never talked to them, and you've made a judgment on whether you like them or not? We do it all the time. All the time. And what's worse is we notice people make judgments about us. And then we go, why don't they like me? They've never even talked to me. Well, I know. But if they've seen you or they've heard your tone of voice, they've made judgments about you. There's a part in your brain that particular part, that's its whole job, is to make judgments about things that are going on around you. It keeps you safe. But if we don't override it, it can sabotage our results. It can sabotage them. So now, this is the bad news or the good news? It's both. It tells us why we've been having the results we've had, and it also shows us what to change. And so now it's like, look, my body language, I have power over it. Just like, can you stop yourself from breathing? If we suddenly sprayed a stinky smell in here, could you guys stop breathing for a second? Here, show me. Can you get your heart to stop beating? No. Okay, you can breathe again. Well, so body language is like breathing. You can override it. When you're not thinking about it, you breathe anyway. Is that true? Most of the time? Sometimes my husband, when he's sleeping, I'll wake up because I'm like, I haven't heard him breathe, and I'm like, breathe. And he's like, what? And I'm like, you weren't breathing. He goes, yes, I was. I'm like, no, you weren't. So I'm like, I don't like that. But most of the time when we don't think about it, we will breathe. Like if I make you be conscious of your breathing, now everybody's going, I better breathe. Okay, I better breathe. But in a couple of minutes, when we're not talking about breathing anymore, you'll all go back to just breathing normal. It's kind of like, since I was just at the hospital, I have hospital examples. Every half hour, they had to come in and check my son's hand, that sounded weird, my son's hand, because he had gotten bit on the knuckle of his thumb. And it was a baby rattlesnake, and luckily it was only one fang that got him, so he didn't get a full dose. But still, his whole hand was swollen and funky colors. And so they would come in every half hour to check him and check his breathing. And then every 4 hours, they took blood to check the coagulation, and they would check his blood pressure every half hour. Because apparently rattlesnake venom is way worse than I had ever known. It's really nasty stuff. So they kept coming in, and they would check his breathing. But when he knew what they were doing, suddenly his breathing would change, and it would be like, you only had 6 breaths this minute. And they're like, you're paying attention, huh? And I'm like, that's what happens when you watch people's body language and you tell them you're doing it. Then it changes. But if you watch their body language and you don't tell them they're doing it, then they do their default body language. Okay, that was too much information. You didn't want to know that. But this is what's going on. The messages will go out. One way or another, they'll go out. But you do have the power to override them. And when you do, remember that cognitive dissonance that you felt when you folded your eyes? I am so listening to this recording again. When you folded your arms, that would be funny, to the other way, that what you were feeling there was your body language sending a new message back to your subconscious. And when you send that new message back to your subconscious now has to choose whether to hold on to the old program or to upgrade the program and hold on to a new program. So it is your secret upgrade button, is your body language. I know, right? Everybody, yay? Yay! We have this secret upgrade button because of our body language. Okay, so I saw a few questions, so let's take a few questions really quick. Did you still have a question? Can you grab the microphone right there? And why don't you stand up and tell everybody your name?
My name is Adam.
Hi, Adam.
My question was, when you were talking about
He's like, what do I do with my hands?
when you were talking about the subconscious programming, I was wondering if you can tell.
Can you hold that closer? There you go.
If you can tell and you already decided to yourself that it's the wrong program, how long does it take to rewire that subconscious decision, that subconscious program?
That is an excellent question. Anybody else want to know the answer to that one? Yes. All right, round of applause for Adam. Okay, so there's two things that influence the speed with which we adopt a new program. They are intensity and repetition. Intensity and repetition. Because the first step to change, the first step is awareness that there's a change that's needed. We first have to be aware of that. Does that make sense? Because if we don't know what we're doing, then there isn't a choice to be made. So the first step is awareness. Then when we are aware of it and we make a new choice, now we need intensity or repetition to cause the upgrade to happen. So let me illustrate. Okay, and I got to get to eyes really fast too. Okay, so let me finish this answer and then we'll move quickly into eyes. Cool? So when I started learning about body language, in part 1 of your handout, Adam, do you see in the lower left-hand side where it says 4 foundational moves? Okay, so the 4 foundational moves are push and pull and hold down and lift. So these are the 4 foundational moves that we'll do with our hands. If you want to see a lot of push down body language, go to elementary school. The teachers are like, sit down, be quiet, don't touch your neighbor, let me show you where the timeout chair is. There's a lot of this. Because we think that we're holding the energy down. But it really, if I stood up here and did this the whole time, how does that feel? Does it feel like an open, safe place to learn? No. But watch, if I just do this, does that change it? But I didn't change the movement, just the hands. Here, try it with me. Everybody push down. Now, don't change the movement, just put your hands upward. Does it feel different? How does it feel? Lighter. Isn't that crazy? It feels lighter. Do it again. It's so fun. You guys do it at home. Now turn your hands up. And all of a sudden, it's like you put helium on your hands, and it goes up. And so being willing to change our hands, we don't even have to change the movement, just change the hands. Because if I stand here and go this way, does that feel different than this? Yeah. And yet this is what we do all the time. I see people, this is how they talk. Like this or like this. I have a lot of people, if I haven't trained them on body language yet, that's what they do a lot of. But it pushes people away. It pushes results away. Our brain doesn't qualify if it's a good or bad program. It just defends the program. Okay? So hang on, I'm still answering Adam's question. So one of the things I realized was I was doing a lot of push away to my children. I noticed when they would come home from school, I would do this. Kids, tell me about your day. Well, I finished cooking dinner over here. Does that match? What did I tell them? I told them, come here. And my hand said, go away. Which one are they going to pay more attention to? The body language. So then I was like, that's why they don't want to talk to me. And so in that moment, that was an intense moment because I realized I was pushing my kids away. And so I said, I don't want to do that. So the next day, I added repetition. The next day when they came home, I said, kids, tell me. And I'm like, are you serious? Look at that stupid hand out there again. This is going on in slow motion in my head. And so I'm like, tell me about your day while I finish cooking dinner over here. And it didn't take too many times before my kids started talking to me instead of going to their room when they came home from school, because I changed the message I was sending. Now, for like a little kid when they run out in the street and the dad runs after him and grabs them and goes, don't ever do that again, that would be intense. And they quickly change their behavior. But we also have times where we need repetition. We just need to keep trying it again and again. And then the time that it takes, Adam, will depend on how ingrained the program is. Another thing, can I give you one other thing that causes intensity? Is choosing a goal that we really want. Because if we really want that goal, that gives us the incentive to stay out here in the growth zone. So one of the things that you'll hear us talk about at Master Your Influence is what's called vision boards. Because vision boards, do you have one? They keep us focused on those goals so that we will upgrade our programming faster. So did you get some answer out of that, Adam? All right, excellent. Okay, right here.
So one thing that I've become aware of is
And the microphone is coming. There we go. And tell everybody your name.
My name is Allison Van Zambergen, and one thing that I've become aware of because of doing the fabulous university here at 3 Key Elements and being part of launch the last time it ran and having to do all those videos, and I also noticed it when I came in here, I'm like, hello! And to me, that's like a wiping away when I went to go think about it. So I'm curious, from a body language expert person, what kind of message am I setting when I say, hello, my name is Allison Van Zambergen?
So because today's focus is on eyes, I'm going to give you a really short answer to that
Okay.
question, because we kind of need to skip forward in that since you've been to a few of these classes, don't hang on to it for a second, you know a few things, so I'm going to skip forward in this question.
Okay.
And that is that you need to decide what message you want to send when you come into the room. And then figure out what body language would match that message. Because you're right, going like this, it's kind of like, see the wall in front of me, and I'm wiping it, make sure you don't come past that wall. And so if you changed it to, hello, this way, so you were like bringing people to you, so that you subconsciously didn't have a wall in front of you, then it would help send the message you're trying to send. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a huge gift.
All right, awesome. Give her a big round of
Thank you.
applause. Okay, so the body language can be overridden by our conscious mind. Our conscious will override the body language, and then the body language helps to upgrade the programs in the subconscious. Does that make sense? That was a very quiet answer. Good. Do you have enough room to take notes, or do we need more paper? Okay, anybody want to learn more about eyes now? Yes? Okay, so here's some basics about eyes that I want to teach you. When you ask somebody a question, they will look somewhere before they answer. So this is their right, their left, their right, and their left. Have you ever asked somebody a question and you've seen them move their eyes before they answered you? Have you? Well, now you can notice, if you haven't noticed before, when somebody is wanting to find an answer to the question, your eyes actually help access different parts of memory in your brain. And so it's kind of cool because if you know where they're looking, you know the category of the kind of answer they're looking for or finding. Oh, we're going deep really fast. Okay, so what that means is, if you recognize where they look for the answer, it actually helps you understand them better. And so the ones I'm going to teach you really quick are up to the right, up to the left, straight to the side. I put ears on this one because they're like looking, hopefully only one way at a time. That would be really creepy if they could look at both ears at once. But one ear or the other, straight up or straight down. Now there's other ones, for sure, but these are the basics that I'm going to teach you about today, the basics. So when somebody looks up to the right, they are looking in, and I know this is debated in science a little bit, but in body language, it holds true. So even if you hear debates about left and right brain out in the world, it still holds true for body language. And so you don't have to worry about the debates as far as body language is concerned. Does that make sense? Okay, so when somebody looks up to the right, the easiest way to think about it is they're looking into the right side of the brain. The right side of the brain has to do with the big picture. It has to do with the not emotional, but the artistic. That's what I'm looking for. The artistic, and can I spell and talk at the same time? The artistic side of the brain. It's more the colorful, the colors. That's the kind of thing that's in the right side of the brain. The left side of the brain has to do more with numbers or words or lineal. So step-by-step thinking, lineal. That's the left side of the brain. And so when somebody looks up to the left, it also has to do with, the left has to do with past events. The right has to do with future events, things that haven't happened yet, that could happen. The left is more things that have already happened, things that are experienced already in the past. Does that make sense? Okay, now, when somebody looks straight to one ear or the other, they're listening to something that someone has said. They're listening to something someone has said, or it's even something, it can be something that they've read. Because when somebody is an auditory learner, when they read something, they say it in their head as they read it. And so sometimes when they look straight to the side, it's also something that they've read on the internet or in a book, or they've heard somebody say. It also can be directions that somebody has given them. So like if you ask a kid a question about something they're doing at school, they sometimes will look straight to the right. Like if you ask a question about an assignment that they're doing, sometimes they'll look straight to the right or the left to remember the directions the teacher gave them. Does that make sense? And so straight to the left or the right is listening. Did you have a question? So left and right can be past and future, like something that they've heard in the past or something they're afraid that they will hear in the future. But usually I don't worry about the left or the right when they're looking straight to the side as much as paying attention that it's listening. If I give you too much to watch, you won't pay attention to any of it. So I'm giving you some really good generalizations that you can use to begin to utilize this. Cool? Okay, so when somebody looks straight up, this is, the easiest way to think of this is they're looking, I just call it heavenward, because they're looking for an answer that's not inside of them. So like my mom taught kindergarten for years, and it was always fascinating to me because when you ask a little kindergartner a question, often they'll look straight up because there isn't an answer in their head for it yet. And they're like, I hope one comes to me. And so they're looking for inspiration or answers that are not inside of their head yet. It's almost, the way I like to look at it is it's almost like we're surrounded by inspiration, and when we're looking straight up, we're looking to access some of that inspiration. Is that cool to explain it that way? And then when somebody looks straight down, they're looking into their emotions. Our emotions are stored mostly in our body. And so when somebody looks straight down, they're accessing emotions that are inside of them. So I'll go one level deeper just for a second. Sometimes when people look straight up, it's because they're avoiding the emotion. So it's either accessing ideas that aren't inside of their head yet, or avoiding emotion. Because I watch people in my personal mentoring appointments, when I ask them questions, I'm watching where their eyes go. Because I'm looking to understand what kinds of answers they're looking for. When somebody holds their eyes straight ahead, it's either because they know I'm watching their eyes, or the answer was so right there present, they didn't have to look somewhere for it. And so if we rewound this, you'd notice that every once in a while I look, and did you see me just a second ago what I did with my eyes? I looked up and I scanned across to the other side. I was quickly checking in with a bunch of different experiences and possibilities of what I could teach you, past experience I've had with it, and also future results that could come from it. So sometimes when people scan quickly, they're using information to make a decision. Too much already? Or we're good? Okay. So let me give you an example. Because I have a 14-year-old. Yes! So another story about the 14-year-old. But this story is back from when he was about 9 years old. Because he was going to a new school that year. This was 3rd grade. And he came home from school. And I asked him a really profound question when he got home from school. Guess what it was? How was your day? Man, you must read the same parenting books I do. So he came home from school, and I asked him, how was your day? Where would you expect him to look for an answer to that question? Up to the left, up to the right, maybe into his emotions. He could look into all of those. When I asked him the question, he looked straight to the side. And then he said, fine. And I was like, wait a second, that didn't match what I was expecting. So when you see body language, what's the next step? You pounce on them, right? And go, why was your day bad? What did somebody say to you, right? No, we ask good questions. So I did. I asked another question. I was like, okay, somebody said something to him at school today. And for whatever reason, he didn't want to tell me what it was. Because when I asked him, I said, how was your day? He looked straight to the side and goes, fine. And I'm like, sorry, I'm going to ask more questions. And so, did you see my body language there? I'm going to ask more questions. I'm going to, when somebody does that with their lips, okay, this is just a tangent. When somebody does that with their lips, it's comforting the words that they're going to say. That's what that does. Yeah, I'm going to say these words. And so I decided what I would do is I knew it happened somewhere between the time that he left home and the time that he came back. And so I narrowed my questions down to, I was going to ask about school. So I thought, well, what subjects does he have at school? Oh yeah, English. So I said, so tell me, how was English class today? Now where would I expect him to look? Down or up to the left, because it's past, and words. And sure enough, he looked up to the left, and he's like, it was fine. And I was like, oh, actually, sorry, I told you the story out of order. The first place my brain went was math. And so I asked him, how was math class today? And he, sure enough, there's numbers up there. He looked up to the left, and he looked at me, and he goes, Mom, I'm really good at math. I'm one of the smartest in the class. And I was like, awesome. So did I find the answer? No. So do I quit? But it was a positive. Shouldn't I just quit now? Yeah, I got to find the spot. So then this is where I went next. I thought, well, sometimes you'll hear something at recess. So I said, tell me, how was recess today? Where would he look for that one? Either up to the left for past or down because of emotions. Well, he happened to look up to the left and he goes, recess was good. I played with my friend Jonas. And I was like, okay, I still didn't find it. So now I thought about reading. And I was like, okay, well, what about reading class? What about English class, reading class? And when I asked him that, he looked straight to the side and then he looked down. Did I find it? Yes. So now I was like, inside, not outside, just inside. And I waited because when somebody looks down and they don't look back up, they need time to process the emotion before they give you an answer. And so if we quickly rip them out of, what we tend to do is try to save people from their emotions. And so what will happen is when somebody looks down, we will quickly try to ask them another question to get them out of their emotion. But if we'll allow them to stay in their emotion long enough to process it, now they'll be able to share with us at a better level. And so he looked down, and I just waited. And it was kind of funny because he tested me on it. He's looking down, and he glanced up really quick, and he's like, dang, she's still looking. And so now he's still looking down, and he did it twice, and he looks up, oh, she's still looking. And so then I saw him do this. What does that mean? Giving in. He's resigned himself to tell me. And so I'm still just patiently waiting. I'm not like staring him down. I'm just sitting there gently waiting. And he finally looks up and he has a tear running down his face. And he goes, Mom, I haven't told this story for a while. I might get emotional. He goes, Mom, the reading teacher told me I'm the dumbest reader in the class, even worse than the resource kids. And I was afraid that if I told you, you'd be mad at me for being stupid. And inside I'm like, yay! Because I know that I get to save him 12 years of therapy. Because inside I'm also like, reading teacher. But on the outside of me, I'm like, aw. And I got to talk to him. And I realized in that moment, I had a chance to replace the program that was being set in his subconscious with something else. And so, luckily, I looked up really quick and got inspiration that caused me to ask this question. And I said, Jake, she said you're the dumbest reader. So I asked him, who reads your math test to you? And he goes, what? Who reads your math test to you? He goes, no one reads my math test to me. I have to read it to myself. And I said, so how could you be the dumbest reader in the class and the smartest one in math, and you read your own math tests? And he goes like this. He looked up to the left. He looked up to the right. He looked straight to the side and went, yeah. And then he goes, can I go play now? I'm like, yes, I'm going on a field trip to the school. But now that didn't have to stay a program in his head, all because I watched where his eyes went when I asked him a question. And I didn't judge. I just asked more questions. And I didn't interrogate. I just was gentle with it. And so asking questions based on what we see can be very powerful. When you have a student or a child who's working on schoolwork and you ask them, so are you ready for your test tomorrow? And they look up to the right before they answer you, they might not have done enough studying yet, because they're thinking about the outcome without having checked in with their preparation. Does that make sense? If you're a real estate agent and you are talking to some clients and you say, so can you see yourself living here? And they look up to the left, what might they be thinking about? They might be thinking about the price. They might be thinking about the square footage. They might be thinking of their last house that they lived in. And so you know what category to ask your next question in. So the eyes can teach us something really fast. So just to put some minds at ease, when I went and talked to the school, it turned out the person who had said this to him was a volunteer aide, and she wasn't invited back to the class to work with the kids after that. But when we ask somebody a question, or when we tell them something like that, it can cause programs in children. So my question for you is, do you think any of you have programs that need upgrading from your past? Do you think? How many of you had parents? Oh, good. And how many of you have kids? We all get to take a turn being the person who doesn't know the answers. And we do the best we can, and the kids still get programs. My parents did so much better than their parents, and I still came away with this concept that I couldn't make eye contact with people. It was so hard when I learned I was supposed to make eye contact 7 years ago, because I realized I'd never made eye contact and held it with my husband. That's weird, right? But it was reality. And so I remember I sat down in front of my 10-year-old. And my husband said, I want you to look him in the eye for 2 whole minutes. And I kicked and screamed and was like, no, I won't do it. I can't do it. Ah! My 10-year-old, my very own child that I birthed and held, I wouldn't look him in the eye. So I finally gave in and did it, and I bawled the whole time. I just bawled because I had never felt that connection of making eye contact with somebody. But just because that had been in my past didn't mean it had to be in my future. Just because something was in your past does not mean it has to be in your future. And so that's why I teach you about these kinds of things right here. I teach you about those because I want you to be able to have interrupts in your comfort zone. It was not in my comfort zone to make eye contact with my 10-year-old. But had I not done that, I wouldn't have been ready 2 years later to notice the eyes of my 3rd grader when he came home from school. And so, do you think this was an important moment in our life? Absolutely. Does he remember it? Probably not. Thank heavens. Because I replaced the program in him. And so it is so worth it to get out of that comfort zone, even if it is in making eye contact with people. Making eye contact is like getting to look through the window of who they really are. That's why when you're driving down the freeway and somebody ticks you off on the freeway because they cut you off, one of the fastest ways to let go of that emotion is if you can actually see that there's a person driving the car. It can soften us. That's what I had to do. I had to get to where I would pull up next to them and I'd look over and sometimes I'd make eye contact. And as soon as I did, it was like, oh, they're a human. They're a person. And then I could, in not just a car, I could treat them different because they were a human. So making eye contact is powerful that way. Now, nowadays, remember how some of you, if you weren't here at the beginning, I was telling the story about the same 14-year-old who was just in the hospital. One of the things that was on the screen at the hospital, on the monitor in his hospital room, was this screen that was coming up that was telling people how to make eye contact when you're passing somebody in the hall or on the street. And so what it said was at 10 feet, okay, so I need a volunteer. So will you come help me for just a second? So you go to that end of the stage, and I'm going to come to this end of the stage. When you see somebody coming, our modern day reaction is to get out our cell phone so that we don't have to make eye contact. Because we first check in and it's like, do I know them? No, I don't know them. Or, oh, I know them, I don't like them. And so then we pull out our cell phone, and now it's like, okay, I don't have to make eye contact. But on this screen, they were trying to teach the employees to be more personable. Because do you think it matters to be personable in a hospital? Do you think there's any stress that happens at a hospital? There's a little, yeah, just a little. And so they're training them that when you're 10 feet apart, which is about what we are right here, we're about 10 feet apart. When you're this far apart, you smile and make eye contact. Now, doesn't mean you have to hold eye contact the whole way, because that can be creepy. But you smile and make eye contact. And then if you want to pretend and check your phone for a second, that's all right, or look somewhere else. But it's best just make that eye contact, and then as we're still walking towards each other, when we get to 5 feet, now you say, hello, hi, and then you can walk past them. But now you've connected, because we made eye contact, we smiled, and we said hello. Those 3 things cause a connection of kindness, even if you'll never see them again. Even if you'll never see them again. So yesterday, I was, no, still be my volunteer. What's your name? Cindy. You're being an awesome volunteer down there, Cindy. Hi. Oh, wait, I can't say hi yet. We're too far apart. Okay. But yesterday, I was going to the store with my son because we had to pick up some medicine for him. And actually, this is not about my 14-year-old. I'm skipping to a different child for a minute. Is that okay? Yeah. So this child is 19, and he is tall and handsome and built, and you just see him and you're like, how did I birth him? Wow. And so I'm walking into Costco with him, and we go past, we're coming up on this car, and here's this elderly couple, and they're trying to get water softener salt. They were so cute, you guys. They're trying to get their water softener salt into their trunk, and they're probably like 85 years old, and the 2 of them together are trying to lift these sacks into their trunk. And I'm just like, oh, here, make that sound with me again. Oh, they were so adorable. I loved them. And so I elbowed my son, and I go, can you lift those for him? And he's like, what, where? And I'm like, right there. And he goes, what? And so now we've reached him, and I said, can he help you with those? Because I learned a while ago, if I offer, sometimes people feel like a girl has to do it for me, and they feel offended. So I was like, I'm glad he's with me. And so I'm like, could he do that for you? And now my son's like, oh, now I get it. Because he hadn't, it's my job to assess situations and see lots of things at once, because I have to watch all of your body language. And so that's my job. So I'm used to it. Because afterwards, he's like, how did you see that? And I didn't. Practice staying in your growth zone. So I saw them, and he's like, oh, I would love to do that. And they're like, would you please? You probably have a better back than I do. So my son goes over, he picks up the water softener salt, he puts it in there, and they have 3 bags of it. And then he's like, this is fun. So he picks up the rest of their groceries and puts them in the truck. And then he picks up the cute lady and puts her in. I'm just kidding. But afterwards, this cute couple, they're like, thank you, son. Thank you so much for doing that for us. And we walk away, and my son's like, oh. And we'll probably never see them again, but he built a connection of kindness. That kindness, just like my son said to me after, he goes, Mom, thank you for noticing that, because I would have missed it. And I love to do that kind of thing for people. The reason we're missing it is because we're so busy trying to pretend as we're walking towards a person that they don't exist. It's like, oh, look at that interesting, oh, there was no humans here. We're so used to trying to ignore them that we miss other situations where we could be of assistance like that. And so practicing a connection of kindness. So let's do it for him one more time, right? What was your name again? Cindy. Say it again. Okay. So I watch people when they say their name. I'm watching their eyes. Since we're in eyes class, I'll tell you. It's not that I necessarily forget people's names. It's because I want to watch them say their name. Can we go on this tangent really quick? Yes. It wasn't on my notes to teach you, but I'm going to teach you it anyway. Okay. So when you ask somebody their name, when they say their name, if they close their eyes while they're saying it, there's a disconnect from their personal identity. There's a disconnect. And so if you watch that and then you see, now let me separate and clarify. I am not recommending you do this to every person you pass on the street. This is bonus material. What is it? Bonus material. So, because if I ask everybody their name as I'm passing and I stop them and say, okay, say your name again, they're going to be like, you are creepy. Do not talk to me. This is bonus material. So when I asked Cindy her name, did you guys see what she did with her eyes? So she blinked as she said it. So I said, what's your name? And she said, Cindy. She didn't blink. And then I said, say it again. And she's like, Cindy. She questioned it. When we close our eyes, we're questioning something about ourselves or about our own identity. And so if you see that in somebody, here's how you combat it quickly. You don't have to go into therapy mode or anything. It's simple. You just give them a compliment when you see them. You just give them a compliment as you go past. I call it a drive-by. So as you're going past, if you give them come here, all the way up here. When you give them a compliment, it's almost as when you go past, let's turn this way. Okay. I bump them emotionally. I do a little drive-by. And I give them this little boost of positive that helps boost their identity. So they don't, if they're questioning self, it helps boost how they feel about self. Is that too deep for me to share that with you guys? Does that make sense? So by giving them a compliment. So if I said to her, oh, I love your necklace as I go past, then she'll be like, oh, thank you. But even better would be to compliment something about her. Oh man, you have beautiful eyes. Then they feel it in here and it boosts how they feel about self. Because this is another thing that's happening is we're disconnecting from self because we're disconnecting from others. And so when we disconnect from others, then we disconnect from who we are. So by being willing, so go back over here for a second. So being willing to make eye contact, smile, and then say hi as we go past, and then continue on. That was a connection of kindness. And it is becoming more of a lost art. You wouldn't think you would have to teach somebody this, but we do. And not only because we need to know the steps to do it, we need to know why we're doing it. And the reason why is we want connection with people, because the three things that a human needs to thrive are identity, connection, and direction. Identity, connection, and direction. So we have to have all three of those. So if I have a connection of kindness, it actually helps me feel better about my own identity. So we're boosting both of those as we have that connection. Does that make sense? Okay, so Cindy, come over here. She was an awesome volunteer. Can you give Cindy a big round of applause? So can I give you a present for being a volunteer? Would that be all right? Okay, so over here they have given me some audio CDs. And these audio CDs are called Don't Dump Your Cup and The Bucket List. Don't Dump Your Cup is all about, it talks about how people push away positive that's coming into their life and how to receive that better. It talks about having balance in your life. It talks about receiving instead of dumping your cup. Because it's almost like we have an emotional cup and we keep dumping it out all day long. And the bucket list is all about getting out of that comfort zone and staying safely in your growth zone. There is a mentoring principle on there that if you apply it, helps you to feel safer in your comfort zone. So would you receive those?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, I got to tell you a secret.
Okay.
They work best if you take the shrink wrap off
Yes.
before you use them.
Yes.
Got it?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, give Cindy a round of applause. Thank you, Cindy. Awesome, thank you. All right, did you guys learn something from that? Yes. Okay, take the shrink wrap off. That's what you wanted to learn. So let's take some questions. Can you come right here? And will you grab the microphone right there and tell everybody your name?
I'm Colette Tomlinson.
Hi, Colette.
Hi. I would like to know the name of that first tape again. I wanted to write it down.
Don't dump your cup.
Okay.
Don't dump your cup. Very good. Okay, round of applause for her question. Okay, then right here, will you grab this microphone? Excellent.
My name's Sarah, and I work with teenagers. They have
Sarah.
a lot of anxiety, a ton.
You think?
How do you?
I have a 14-year-old.
Yes, me too. So
and
much.
he rage quitted baseball because he asked to be played first base. I mean, I have weird problems at my house.
I know. Mine is going to school halftime next year because she can't handle her anxiety.
So
Are
is he.
there-
You should introduce them.
Except they're introverted and they wouldn't want to hang out. Is there a way that can balance them between growth and comfort zone, but not trigger their anxiety so much that it becomes unmanageable?
So this part that I just taught you about drive-bys came because of that 14-year-old. Because his anxiety was so big, I was like, how do I help him? So I would try to teach him directly, and it was too much. And so I noticed that, especially as they become teenagers, they start to have a lot of negative self-talk. A lot of negative. Were you one that raised your hands that you've been to Master Your Influence?
Yes.
So do you have Building a Mind of Steel CD?
I don't think so.
You don't have the Building a Mind of
I don't
Steel?
think so.
Okay, so the Building a Mind of Steel CD talks about how studies show that we have 72% of our thoughts a day are negative, on average. 72%. I've been doing a lot more study on this recently, and there's a whole part of the brain devoted to noticing the negative. And so we have to consciously combat that with positive comments. And so if you get the Building a Mind of Steel CD, it is, do I have one? I have one. Now I don't have that one. So this one, the Building a Mind of Steel, is all about reducing the number of negative comments, thank you, and increasing the number of positive comments. And so when you listen to this, and you can even let, how old is she?
14.
14. Imagine that. You can even let her listen to it if she's open to it.
Yeah.
But what I needed to do was figure out another way to slide positive comments in, because my 14-year-old would not listen to this himself. And if I tried to just teach it to him, he was like, no way, no how. And so what I did instead was when I saw him in the house, when I went past him, I wouldn't turn straight on. I would brush his shoulder, and I would make a comment to him. Like something as simple as, oh, you have a cute nose. You get that from my side of the family. And he'd be like, and then I saw him in the mirror going, and I was like, yes, that one got in. Or I'd just make some kind of comment to try to boost their self-confidence about self. Because that's where a lot of that anxiety comes from, is they're afraid they're not good enough. Anybody else ever felt like that? Yeah, we don't even have to raise our hands, but we all would, because we feel that way. That's why the Perfection CD is about understanding that version of perfectionist of us not being enough. That's a version of perfectionism. Even if you're not OCD about keeping everything in place at your house, you can be stuck in perfectionism. So do you have the Perfectionist CD? Yes. Okay, so listen to that one.
I have to open the shrink wrap.
They work better that way. That's why I tell people, that's why I told her, because I know that that's what people do. See? She's taking it off now. That's smart. Because then you download it, put it on your phone, you can listen to it wherever you are. But that's why I recorded that one, is because we get stuck in that version of I'm not enough and I'll never be enough. And so that, coupled with this concept that we don't connect with people, is what's driving the anxiety level of the teenagers up. And so simple little things. We don't have to go from A to Z in one step. A to B matters. So put some of those simple ones in place. It'll help.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Great question. Give her a big round of applause. So if I give you this one, would you take the shrink wrap off? Like before you leave class, like she's doing? All right. Would you guys support me in giving this one to her? There you are. You're welcome. Okay, any other questions? Okay, right here and then right over here. Where's my microphones? Right there.
Good morning, Ann. My name's Stephanie Eccles.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hello. The 3 words you used, identity, connection, and correction.
Direction.
Oh, direction.
Uh-huh.
Will you review that for us one more time, what that brings to someone? Is that
So
reassurance?
Identity, what it does is it helps them to thrive. Because they're clearer. I'm not going to say clear, because so when people mentor with me, it's 1 year is $15,000. And I currently have 27 people I'm mentoring. So I have 3 openings because I have room for 30. But I have that many people, and they don't understand clearly who they are often. So I'm not going to say we understand clearly. I'm going to say clearer. The clearer we are on who we are and where we connect, where we fit in, who matters, who do I matter to? That connection helps us to feel like we are part of something bigger than ourselves. And then direction is like having a goal, a passion, something I'm working on. This one's a hard, becoming more of a problem on our planet right now because it's a first world problem. It's like kids don't have to struggle for things. If they want something, their parents go, okay, fine, order it on Amazon. Whereas when I was a kid, it was like, I want something. Well, you better go figure out how to make some money. You better go mow your neighbor's lawn. You better go babysit the neighbor's kids. I mean, like, I don't know, we must have been the poorest people in the neighborhood because I swear I worked for all the neighbors. Because if I wanted something, I had to go make it happen. When I was 10 years old, I came home from school and I told my mom, I got myself a paper route. And bless her heart, she let me have it. But that's how it was. Nowadays, a 10-year-old does not come home from school and say, I got my own paper route. A, because adults do the paper routes now, and B, because kids don't have to earn money that way. And so direction is going away, and we have to put it back in. Because if you take any one of these away, anxiety levels go up, depression levels go up, 30-year-olds living in their parents' basement goes up. All of this happens because of identity, connection, direction. Does that help?
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Excellent. Give her a round of applause for that question. Okay, head over here.
Hi.
Stand up.
Yes, ma'am. My name is April.
Hi, April.
I watch my nephews on 2 days a week, and I see that when I try and correct my nephews in trying not to be mean to their brother or respect my mom and dad's house, I want to not have the wrong programs go to my nephews when they're leaving because they take off when they do something wrong. How do I change their body language to, because I'm speaking to them nicely, I'm saying nice words, I'm using nice tones, I'm saying, come here, let me make this okay.
How old are they?
5 and 3.
So 5 and 3-year-old. Understand this. The biggest thing is how you do your body language is more than them doing their body language. Because like my daughter, she's in college now. She's 21, and my only girl, I have 4 boys and 1 girl, and she recently told me, she goes, Mom, you probably didn't know this, But all those times that you were teaching me things and I was rolling my eyes and I was running away, I actually heard a lot of them and I put them into practice in my life. And so their body language isn't going to be a clear indicator for you of what they're actually absorbing. And so the best thing you can do is to hold the image in your head that the reason you're helping direct them is because you believe in their potential, not because you want to shut them down. That's the thing that our kids will feel from boundaries is actually safety, and that I don't have time to go into this deep, but I'm going to just say this and you can marinate on it, that we actually trust their ability to arrive at their potential. Because that's one message that kids don't get a lot. They actually, if you think about it, the world is getting so big technologically, so quickly, that it makes it hard for the kids to see how they can overcome the gap to be the person that designs that stuff. Like when we were kids, it's like, oh, you have to get from here to college professor is not that big of a leap. It felt doable. Now the leap from here to college professor, holy cow, they know so much, feels bigger. Or here to technological leader feels so big. Everything feels like running for president of the United States felt when we were kids. It's just bigger. Does that make sense? Okay, so tell me what kind of answer you got out of that.
I guess just give them the information with love and let them learn from it.
Yeah, trust them. Because your intention will come out in your words, your tone, and your body language. They'll feel it. It doesn't mean you don't need to correct them. That's what 3-year-olds and 5-year-olds need, is some direction. It doesn't mean we shame them into submission, but they do need direction. And that's what you're doing. So trust you more. Trust your intention. And then watch this and this. Make sure it's this kind of body language. You do that? Excellent. Okay, give April a big round of
Thank you.
applause. You're welcome. Okay, so are you guys learning cool things today? Yes. Do you know we've actually been here for 2 hours and 22 minutes? Does it feel like it? I know, it goes quickly when we're learning good things. And so I'm really hoping that you'll learn more about body language. I hope that you'll bring people back here with you next month, the next time I do one of these, or have me come teach some of your people. But either way, take something that you learned today and put it into practice. Because human nature is, I gave you a lot of deep pieces today, you guys. So human nature is to go, that's too much, I can't do all of it, so I'll do none of it. It's much better to say, wow, that's awesome, I'm going to put this piece into practice. And then after we've got that, go back and look at your notes again and put another piece. Or come back again to class and learn another piece. But every time we put a piece into practice, we come closer to where we want to be. That's how I learned body language. Piece by piece by piece. Did you know every single finger sends a different message in body language? Did I just point at 6 fingers? That was funny. 5 fingers. They all send a different message. And so, just like I just taught you eyes, if you watch people's fingers when they're talking about a subject, you know what area of their life that is affecting the most. And that can be powerful information. When I left the Master Your Influence class, I was like, I have no idea what to do different. And so I was driving home, and I was thinking about this, and I thought, well, I want to send a different message to my kids, but I don't know how. And I got out of my car, and I walked, and when I opened the door of the house, all my kids happened to be sitting in the family room. And I could see that from the garage door. And so as I walked in, I thought, well, I have about 10 feet to decide what I'm going to do. And I'm like, 9 feet, 8 feet, 7 feet, still no choice. What's the answer? Inspiration. 6 feet, 5, 4, and I'm like, okay, what do I do? So I got to the doorway. I had no clue, so I did this. I went, hi, everyone, I'm home. And my kids looked up, and they looked at me, and I'm like, I'm going to own this, whatever this is. And so I just stood there like this, and all of a sudden, my 13-year-old ran across the room and hugged me. They were so hungry for me to be open to them that they would take this corny version of mom standing in the doorway over the one that had been pushing them away. And so I had an immediate change in result. And I thought, I didn't even know what I was doing, and I got a different result. So put something into practice so that you can have a new result. That's why I do what I do, you guys. That's why I got up early this morning so that I could be here at this class, and I will be teaching all day long because I want people to have these shortcuts. And all you got to do is put one piece into place at a time, one piece at a time. I highly recommend you come to the Master Your Influence class. So raise your hand for me if you've been there already again. Okay, raise your hand if you've never been there. Awesome. Okay, wait, leave them up. Are you guys already coming? Yes. Are you? A couple of you? Some of you? Okay, would it be okay if I just gave you a handout about that really quick? Would that be all right? Could you, I think they're right there. Could you guys pass those out for me? The Master Your Influence class, they're going to pass out this flyer for you. And on this handout, when you get this, I want you to look in the lower left-hand corner because it says, you'll learn the 3 keys to overcoming your mental filters, the 15 principal areas of body language, and 3 effective states to recalibrate your mind. You guys, remember, you can upgrade your programs by overriding your body language. You can also override your body language by upgrading your programs. So you can use what we call mentoring principles, or you can work on your body language. Or option 3, that my husband always likes option 3, you can have both. Like at Thanksgiving, you ask him what kind of pie do you want, and he goes, all of them. And it's like, serious? He goes, yeah, get a big plate. Like, okay. And that's usually before dinner, okay? But Master Your Influence will teach you principles to upgrade your programs and principles to upgrade your body language. We'll teach you about vision boards, how to get the left and the right side of your brain working together for your results. All of these things are powerful. They're powerful. So the Master Your Influence class, this class, the next one is taught of August. It's taught August 24th through the 26th. The next one after that will be November 2nd through the 4th. So glad somebody here knows the dates. Oh my gosh, so there's one in February too. So you can ask Allison if you want to know when the next one is. So August, November, or February. Now this class, you can go other places and learn things about communication. I've attended many other events. And I'll tell you what, they are usually upwards, their tuition is upwards of $1,800 for a 2-day class. Ours is a 3-day class, and what's our tuition? $227. So that must mean that our class is not nearly as cool as the other one, right? No, it means that our purpose that we've chosen is we want to empower the human family with the skills to free their mind, clear their heart, so they can create all they can envision. That's our goal. And so when I came to the Master Your Influence class, it was $750. It's not that the caliber of the class has gone down, it's gone way up. And we decided we want lots of people to be able to be there. So this will be August 24th through the 26th, or November 2nd through the 4th, 3 days, 24 hours of training. You cannot go to any college and get 24 hours worth of training for $227. It doesn't happen. Did you learn something in 2.5 hours this morning? Yes. How do I hold up a half a finger? 2.5 hours? Imagine 24 hours of training. So when you come to the class, you come a little early the first day so you can get your name tag. That's so if you're chosen to go up on stage and you forget who you are, you can look at your name tag. It's like, who am I? Because there will only be about 1,000 people at the class. There's usually about 1,000 people. And we pay close attention to detail. So when you come into the class, there's big screens, video screens on both sides of the stage. So everybody has the best seat in the house because we want everybody to have the best seat. So you come to the class, you take notes. In fact, here's the manual that you'll get when you come the first day. And in here, you'll notice there's lots of words and pictures because that helps both sides of your brain. So these are the kinds of things. There's all the facial expressions. There's different parts of body language. There's more about eyes. There's all the fingers. You'll learn about all the fingers. You'll also learn more about how your brain works. You'll learn about how it affects health. You'll learn all these different parts about body language. And notice there's also quite a few places to take notes. So you'll want to make sure that you bring your exercised fingers so you don't get writing cramp. You can take lots of notes. And then when you leave the class, you take this with you. And a couple of days after the class, you look back through your notes. And you say, okay, what piece am I going to put in place today? And you get another upgrade. And then a few days later, you look at it again, and you get another upgrade. This has changed my life, you guys. It's changed my life. Even it's changed my family, because my mom, after a few years of watching me, she finally came to the Master Your Influence class. My mom, my whole life, has weighed almost 400 pounds. And she's been on, I never knew her not on a diet. She was always on a diet. It wasn't because she ate poorly. There was other things involved, here and here. And when she came to the Master Your Influence class, since then, she has dropped over 150 pounds. Yeah, can you guys just give a round of applause towards my mom? So come learn more about body language. Come to the class. Now, some of you, hopefully all of you, put your name in my drawing bowl. Is that true? A couple of you did. It says that there's a few names in here. So what I would like to do is I have some audio CDs I would like to give away. Would anybody like to receive some? Yes. But I only want you to raise your hand if you promise to take the shrink wrap off and listen to it. Okay, good answer. So this one, so I have a few of them I'm going to give away. I have two copies of the Perfection is a Direction CD. I also have another copy of the Building a Mind of Steel. And this one is called Speaking Eye to Eye. That whole idea of where I sat down in front of my 10-year-old and looked at him for 2 minutes, that concept is on this CD. This teaches you some powerful things about connecting with people. So I would like to, actually, I also have 2 more copies, another copy of the Don't Dump Your Cup and the Bucket List. So would anybody want one of these? Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to draw some names out. And so your job is to send out the energy that whoever's names are drawn, they are the people that need it next. They just need it now. And are we excited when people win? Yes. All right, awesome. Okay, so this first one, the Perfection is a Direction. This one goes to April Thackeray. Congratulations. Do I get to give you a hug? Yes. Oh, you're welcome. Congratulations. Okay, this next one, Speaking Eye to Eye, this one goes to Tom Wakefield. And if you happen to already have one of these, that's okay. Just pay it forward to somebody I bet you know that would need it. Congratulations. Good job, Tom. Okay. The next one, the Bucket List. This one goes to, oh, that's funny, Heather Wakefield. You saw me stir them, right? Good job, Heather. Congratulations. Okay, and then this one goes to Colette Tomlinson. Apparently you needed to sit on that row right there. Congratulations, Colette. Do I get to give you a hug? Awesome. Okay, big round of applause for her. All right, so then this one right here, I would like to give all three of these CDs away to you. The Perfection is a Direction, Building a Mind of Steel, and Speaking Eye to Eye. That is about 4 hours of training. 4 hours of audio training. So will you support me in giving those all to one person? I promise I stirred these. This goes to LaDawn Thackeray. Okay, do you remember the trick? You have to take the shrink wrap off, like before you leave the room, or somebody's going to pounce you. Okay, will you do that?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, another round of applause for her. Okay, so you guys we should just form our own group, and we should all just be one group and meet every week, right? Because you guys asked great questions. This was great information that you pulled out of me. I always love seeing what comes out at a body language class, because although I have my notes here of exactly what I wanted to cover, all the bonus material comes because of what I see in you guys. And so it's because you were here in this room that you heard the information you did today. I don't just pick that ahead of time. I pick the structure, and then the bonus material comes because of who you are. So tell the person next to you, I'm so glad you were here today. So I have one last offer for you. If you know somebody that needs to be at the Master Your Influence class, or you want to come to the Master Your Influence class either for the first time or again, then I want to give you a special offer because of how you played today. Would anybody like a special offer? Yes! All right. So I'm going to tell you that, but first I'm going to tell you this really quick. If you are interested in being in my next group mentoring that starts in August, remember to personally mentor with me. I only have 3 spots. So I also have a group mentoring, and it's pretty powerful because we meet here in this room, or it's also broadcast so you can watch it online. And we meet here twice a month for 3 hours each time. And in between, you have masterminds, you have power partner calls, you have accountability of action steps towards your goals. It is a powerful 3 months. We work together for 3 months, and I help you have the skills to move towards your goals and put the things that you're learning into practice. And so if you're interested in that, I have special tuition for those people who come to the body language class. And so I highly recommend you come up and ask me about that. So now, those of you who want to come to Master Your Influence, there are 25 people in the room. You guys that are online, we have a way that you can log in, and you have to be one of the first people to log in and do it, but they're going to put the directions up on the screen for you and give you a special code to do this. Because what I'm going to give to you is this. There's 25 people in the room, and so the first 7 people who sign up, you also get a copy of those CDs. LaDawn, can you hold those up? So you're going to get a copy of the Building a Mind of Steel, the Perfection is a Direction. You're also going to get one called Vision Board that I didn't have a hard copy to hold up, and the Speaking Eye to Eye. You're going to get the download of those 4 CDs. So we're going to send it in an email, and you can download it so you don't have to take the shrink wrap off. You can put it directly on your phone and listen to it. That is a $74 value. If you go out to purchase those at the front desk, that's how much they are. The downloads are $74 for the 4 of those together. That is my gift to you. Will you receive that? I want you to have that gift, because if you listen to that before you come to the class and have that in here, you will hear things differently when you come to the class. So that is to register for the class. You're going to go out to the front desk, and they're going to give you a registration form. And on the registration form, you are going to make sure you put your name and your email address, because that's where we'll send your downloads and your confirmation. You also will pick the date that you're going to come. And I'm also going to give you a special tuition, so you won't have to put $227 right here. $227 is already a bargain. But I just want to get past every chicken exit. Because remember, excuses keep us in our comfort zone. Excuses. So I might give you this offer and you'll come up with some excuse. Oh, well, I don't know what my calendar is. Oh, I don't know if I can really pay for that. Oh, I don't know if I can have somebody watch my kids. Whatever the excuse, just know it's keeping you in your comfort zone. And so there should never be a question when you have a special crazy offer that comes across like I'm going to give you right now. There shouldn't be a question about staying in your comfort zone, because your growth zone matters. I am highly interested in your results happening. I believe in your amazingness, and I'm willing to believe in it more than you do, if that's what it takes. So I'm going to give you a special offer. The 7 people who get the 4 audio downloads, that still applies even to this crazy offer. So if you have somebody you want to bring to this class, you're going to want to go out and get one of these registration forms. And then what you put on there for tuition is this. What's the number? And $74 worth of audio downloads. Can you tell I just want you there? You can tell, yes? So I'm going to ask you one thing in return. When you come to Master Your Influence, come say hi to me. Come say hi to me. You'll see me up on stage. I'll have a table at the event. The majority of the class is taught by the owner of the company. You will love the class. Are there any questions about this offer? Okay, this offer is good for you. You're welcome to go out there and start. The offer is good for you, or if you want to sign somebody up who's not here, go ahead. My husband did it to me. And I'll stay here for a few minutes to answer questions, and if you're interested in my group mentoring, give yourselves a big round of applause for being here today.